Welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented lightworkers and the innovative influencers of our time. When we began this show over a year ago, we introduced guests like tarot readers, astrologers, and animal psychics. But now that Pluto's moved into Aquarius, I'm surprised, or not surprised, to introduce to you a level 3 quantum healing hypnosis teacher. We'll find out what that's about soon. But before we do, let's take a word from our sponsor, namely something we have never done before at Serious Joy, the Step Astrology classes. We have the Introduction to Step Astrology 2 classes coming out next month. I have never taught classes like this before or constructed them into a class. There are 2 versions. One is for you and your relationships in your life, and one is for you as a professional. Either way, we're going live with this just after summer solstice. This is the first time we're putting the information out there, and this does have a long-term track to become a certified step astrologer. Here's more. From the creators of 40 Days of Past Lives and Karma and 40 Days of Self-Love comes the class you've been waiting for, an introduction to step astrology. That's right, I'm sharing some of my inside secrets on how to read a chart according to step astrology and help you interpret the stars, whether it's for yourself or for clients. Keep a lookout for us coming soon. Serious Joy Academy and Introduction to Step Astrology will go live in the Taurus season. All right, that was quick. Well, folks, I'm so happy to say that we have a guest here that I'm familiar with and is doing some interesting work you've never heard of. His guest is Jeroen, a level 3 quantum healing hypnosis technique facilitator. I have to take that quiet. He's been guiding people on journeys of self-discovery for nearly 20 years. Originally from the Netherlands, Jeroen has led thousands of transformative sessions, helping folks break free from old patterns and find real joy. He trained directly with Dolores Cannon, and his works especially resonate with anyone asking for deeper healing, including those in the LGBTQIA and BIPOC communities. Excuse me, BIPOC. I'm not sure if you should say it or spell it. I've had the pleasure of meeting Jeroen when he was a guest on my other show, Leading Out Loud with Scott Cruz. You might have met him then. I'm excited to introduce him back to here on our Astro Mingle tonight. Please welcome Step 21 Gemini, Jeroen. Yay. Forgive me for butchering that open, buddy.
Hey, Christopher. Thanks it's great to see you again. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, it's nice to have you on. And we enjoy your company a lot the first time. We never got to the bottom of everything. So I'm glad to have you on. It's so nice to have you and see you. How are things for you?
Things are great. I am streaming in from my friend's beautiful kitchen here in Denver, Colorado. I'm just here for a few days.
Oh.
I'm based in Los Angeles. I'm just having a little vacation.
And I'm just outside of Los Angeles, having moved from Denver.
Oh, really?
So we stay in opposite parts of the country, I guess, is how we handle it. Yeah, well, that's great. I'm glad to hear it. I mean, Geminis have been going through a lot of change. I'm just going to pick your brain for a second. Did you feel your intellect expand this year?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's been going on since like the latter part of 2023, like November. But I've been feeling it build over 2024 and then also 2025. And how it sort of unfolded for me or impact for me is that there's more joy in my life right now, and there's more sort of self-empowered and less feeling dependent on external circumstances. I feel like I'm more in sort of in the manifestor seat rather than sort of being lived by my circumstances, which is a great feeling.
I report the same, actually. Although I'm, still messing things up. Yeah. But no, I feel the same way. I definitely feel a shift in the sense of relaxing into the role, maybe is a way to put it. Like, instead of constantly thinking about it. But Geminis in particular, are the intelligentsia of the planet. I mean, they hold together our collective consciousness, really. They hold it together. They network it.
Well, of course we do. Well, of course.
Totally. And so with you guys' upgrade comes an upgrade to the whole system, I feel, so it's interesting. Most Geminis haven't had the pop yet. So I keep talking to them. They haven't had the big, eureka moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Most I talk to. I don't know why. Could be my own evidence.
Oh, I have some really good friends that are Geminis that definitely had the pop.
They've all popped?
Popped, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think my son popped on his birthday, but we'll see. It's one of those things you have to kind of see. But well, let's get them into your work, because you do some really interesting work that I have never heard of, and I don't even know where it gets its name from. I guess the obvious question here is to ask you, can you explain what quantum healing hypnosis is and what the technique is?
Sure, yes. So it's an hypnosis technique developed by the late Dolores Cannon, and it's called quantum healing because part of the hypnosis technique is connecting to the quantum field of a person, and then healing can take place. So the healing that takes place happens in the quantum field. And she designed it as a 4-hour-long session where we first talk with the client about their current lifetime, and then we lead them to different lifetimes or lifetime, and then they're sufficiently relaxed and sort of disassociated with their current life, where we can call forth the subconscious mind. It's kind of the quantum field of a person, and we can ask it anything about the person's life, and often also about any other information anywhere. So it's kind of like tapping into the Akashic records, and it's fascinating. It's very, very healing. And most people that do this work, they experience sort of a stronger connection to self, or a coming home to themselves. And then there is the physical healing that can take place, or mental, emotional, or understanding their life better, gaining access to their life purpose, giving them the next steps in their lives, or what kind of decisions to make. It is really, and it's all, it's not me giving them these answers. I'm not sort of interpreting or reading them. I'm just quizzing the higher self for these answers. And so people connect very intensely to their own answers, and it kind of inoculates them to be in life less dependent on external circumstances, or to sort of have to sway or lean into the messages of the world, and instead being more sort of self-empowered, and to know that the answers are within. And that is really the true beauty of the technique, I think.
So does the client leave empowered to ask questions always? I mean, like sort of like an understanding of how to ask universal questions, or is that something that's facilitated only?
It depends on the kind of level that they're in. We're also different. So people that like make leaps and bounds during the session, they might be able to do that. Other people are already doing this kind of work, like self-inquiry, through therapy or breath work or other sort of guided techniques. They might also be able to do that. And then other people, they just have to sort of this window open, and they experience that they can do it. And they might have this direct access afterwards. So there needs to be more trust that's being built, but they now have their answers and know their life purpose, and lots of healing has happened. So they're kind of been given a leg up into their life's journey.
It's interesting because, everyone has to heal, the entire planet, which is why the lightworker industry, I think, is just going to explode, because, it's something I think it has to be handled carefully with a practitioner that kind of understands the mapping of it. Not that you can't do it yourself, but you just need something to reference, right? It's interesting to see all these techniques have come forward. I mean, Dolores goes, is before me, and I owe her gratitude for even having my job in honesty. I'm curious how, what the quantum part of it does that's special, in the sense of how does the quantum field support information any better? Or is it that we have information in that field all the time, and you're just accessing it that's already in the field? Is that what it is?
So you could relate it to the Akashic records. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. So
it is the web of consciousness that we're all part of. It's the building.
Okay, got you.
Who we are, what the whole visible, the invisible world is.
Okay.
And it's only when we're sort of incarnate in a human body at this time that we experience separation from this all. But the truth of existence is really that we are all connected, that we are all source or universe, cosmos. And so it's tapping into those layers within ourselves. So it's kind of like, what could you relate that to? So kind of like a hologram, like we are a certain point, or like a drop in the ocean, and you can access the ocean through the drop. Does that make any sense?
Totally makes sense. Now I figured out why I was a little confused by it, because really quantum is sort of like outer space. It's like the new outer space kind of thing. And so,
yes. Yeah. I mean, kind of quantum physics, like the layers beyond the physical. So where the physical, as we understand it or experience it, ceases to exist, and there's just energy and consciousness there.
Right. Okay. So you're tapping really a dimension is what we're talking about, to some degree. And in that dimension, this facilitates. Okay. That makes total sense. I mean, everyone's, not to say this that way, but like, science talks quantum, everyone's talking quantum computing. And I don't think any of us have ever, it hasn't come together yet as a clear definition, because everyone's using the term to describe this, invisible space they're going to, which I guess is a scientific way of saying heaven, or, spiritual space. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So why do people seek your help out? Seek for your help. Like, is it usually something mundane in their life that they're having problems with, like such as a relationship, or do they come in knowing that they need something larger?
So a big segment of my clients find me just if they've just popped. They've had a spiritual awakening of sorts. Something weird happened in their lives. They might have seen an angel or a being, or they might have done an ayahuasca journey, or
Wow. Okay.
just gone through a really rough time, a crisis that kind of flipped their script, and they had to search within themselves rather than to keep coasting along on their like winning strategies, sort of. Codependent life strategies. And so they're puzzled as to like, oh my God, what's now? What is my life about? I'm here with a bigger purpose. And this is when they come in. And I feel like I get to midwife them into a whole new understanding of themselves. So that is a big part of it, but also people that have been struggling with all kinds of physical issues, and the traditional sort of medical establishment had no answers for them. And so they're looking to dig deeper and further and find the spiritual root of what's causing the ailment. So that happens. Also, people that have just never been able to fit into life, and they've already been sort of tuned into the quantum field or anything spiritual, and this is just like a normal way for them to get a deeper insight into who they already are. And then people dealing with all the problems that we deal with being a human being on the planet, could be big or small, could be relationship issues or work stuff, life purpose, having had weird experiences growing up, or wondering why we came in with these parents that were just terrible and it really affected our lives. Trauma happening, a lot of traumatized people I get to work with as well. So it's really, it runs the gamut. I never know, what I'm going to get when I have a person step into my space.
Yeah, same with us. So it sounds like exactly how my job is, in the sense of the kind of clientele coming in and what the issues are. Does the clientele come in with other modalities like astrology or other things they've been using? And if so, do you integrate that in somehow? Is there an integration where they all fit together, or do you find that they overlap if you know about it?
You dropped out when you said the name of the
excuse me. I said, so do clients come in with other modalities in their back pocket, such as using tarot or being Buddhist, or, and if so, is it easy for you to integrate your method with all these other methods? Do you find that they overlap with wisdom?
Great question. So yeah, I do have all kinds of people come in from all kinds of backgrounds. So usually for them to find me, they've been tuned into like a more spiritual understanding of life. And so it's not like they're, pious Catholics or like observant Orthodox Jews, or, kind of stuck in sort of fundamentalist, parts of the religion. But if there's a background in sort of philosophy or religion, the higher self, because I don't have to really make that happen or make the integration happen. I'm just asking the higher self, and I'm following the way that they have written down their questions. So if there's a question like, how does this fit into my understanding of a Buddhist world, this understanding of a universe or the quantum field, then it will describe it in ways that is like palpable, or what is the word, like digestible for their consciousness. So I am not the doctor or the fixer. I'm just the practitioner that allows the connection to take place. And then I just quiz the higher self in the wording that they've written down or brought in. So it's not very difficult for me to make that happen.
To facilitate it. You're literally holding mental space as a super processor computer Gemini, Yeah, totally. Are people really awake and alert during the process? Are they somewhat out of it, or hypnotized, or in a meditation?
Yeah, so it differs per person as well, because we're also different and we're at different points in our evolutionary journey as a soul on the planet. So most people, including myself, when I get this work done, we're very awake and aware. And it just feels like meditation, or like, I don't know if you're familiar with EMDR. That's what it feels like to me the most when I get EMDR done. And I even get this done with my eyes open. It's just like my conscious mind sits to the side, and this other stream of consciousness just drops in. And
that's what I do on camera.
Right?
It's kind of what it's like on camera. I mean, for me, when I stream or do a reading.
Yes. So, and it's, my questioning and the induction process is very specific. So it does take a person's mind to a very specific place where they have access to the answers. And then my questioning helps them to deepen into that space that they find themselves in, be it, being quite awake and aware, but accessing the information nonetheless, or being completely sort of zoned out. That also happens in a small amount of the cases, where people come out of it and they have no recollection of what happened. So most people, most sessions take about 2 hours, the actual regressive part and talking to the higher self. And then when they wake up, most of the time people think that it's lasted for maybe 10 or 20 minutes. And then they're quite shocked when I tell them it's been 2 hours, even though, they said, typically what they say is like, oh, I didn't think I was in a different space, but coming out of it now, I do realize that I was in a very different space. So it's not like the hypnosis that you see in movies or TV where, it's like we're yanking you from one reality and plopping you down in another one where you have no sort of connection to what's happening in your life right now or your current life body. I tell people you're going to be in complete control. Like if you need a drink of water or if you need a blanket, you'll be able to ask me, or when you need to use the restroom, you're able to tell me. You won't like wet my massage table. It's okay.
Good, because I have a teaspoon bladder. I'd be in trouble. What evidence have you found that that everything is consciousness? I mean, that's really what the theorem is, right? That we are consciousness, and perhaps God or Creator's consciousness, or the children of or the child of that consciousness. But what little moments of proof have you discovered along the way that's convinced you, anyways?
So seeing the same experiences come in through different clients was really helpful with that. I was born in the Netherlands and grew up there. And so it's a very rational and cerebral culture.
Yeah.
Religion is seen as sort of kind of for like a bit of like the dummies. I don't mean to disrespect anybody. That's just how the culture looks at it. So there isn't like religion and believing anything beyond the physical life is not seen, it's not held in high regard. Even feelings or intuition, neither. It's all about the rational thinking. And so me being interested in his work was one thing, but then, like trusting that my clients actually told me about lived experience as opposed to like confabulation or made up stuff was another thing. So I was lucky that I had a lot of experiences where people would go into historical lifetimes that could be fact checked.
Wow.
That they described to me like a wedding ceremony that is not the same as how we know it now, or very different. They might have drank like a bowl of like bison milk, or kneel down on the beach and they had to lean their faces into each other or their foreheads and then inhale at the same time. And my clients thinking they're just making it up during the session, and then after we would Google this information, and then we would find that X culture somewhere would have this ceremony or this burial ritual or a very specific way of dressing, or like a lot of people that are in a life in the medieval times, they describe like they see, they're sitting at their dinner table, for instance, and I asked them, what kind of dishes or utensils are you using? And I'm asking them these sort of trivial questions to see if there's data there that we can fact check. And they might explain that they see this metalware that is sort of dark, but also shiny. And this is pewter, I've learned. It's like this dark sort of metal. And that was used a lot in those days to eat from, for dishes to eat from. So my biggest case, and I've mentioned probably this in the other podcast that we were in, is my Lou Gehrig reincarnation case. Did I speak about this?
No.
I didn't. Oh my God.
You might have. It slipped my mind.
So I had this client at the beginning of my career who has a son, Christian, who started telling her at age 2 that he used to be a tall German baseball player. And his mom, Kathy, was his mom in that past life. And he said, I like you better now. I remember being up on the cloud and choosing you again. And so for her, this was all like kind of crazy talk because she was from a Christian background and had no context for reincarnation. And so things would happen to little Christian that would sort of tune her into that there was more going on than just a child's imagination. She was from the Los Angeles area, and he expressed interest in baseball. So she took him to the Dodger Stadium, and there happened to be a large poster of Babe Ruth on the wall. Do you know who that is?
Babe Ruth, yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm the kind of gay, like sports is like way over my head. I don't.
Mine too. If that wasn't a candy bar, I wouldn't know it. So
okay. So Christian had like a total meltdown when he saw that poster. He was pointing at Babe Ruth, saying this guy was very, very mean. We had a big fallout, big fight, to the point where she
inside stories. Wow.
Yeah, so to where she needed to take him out of the area. So things like that would happen that would let her know that there was more going on. So she started out on this like search journey to find out what was going on with him. Took him to her pastor first and was suggested to do an exorcism, which she didn't want to commit to. You know, she said, well, I'm going to find like some other information. So one of her more like woo-woo friends had already done a session with me and kind of nudge her and say, go see this Dutch guy in Eagle Rock over in Los Angeles and do a past life regression. So this is the story that she came in with. And every session, you know, I tell my clients, I don't know what we're going to be accessing. I leave it up to your higher self. So this is what I told her.
Right.
And I didn't know her, you know, this is the first time seeing her. I didn't know if she was lying to me, making things up. So during the session, I made sure to ask about lots of trivial details that she could not have researched. So it was very clear pretty quick that we were in Christina Gehrig's life. She described a working class environment on the East Coast in the United States. Wow. She described her body, what she was dressed like. She described the rug in her living room with the patterns. There was a little chubby little like wiener dog next to her, a covered over bird cage. She was sitting at the dinner table. She knew the German nicknames for her children. And, you know, I was thinking like, what can I ask her to sort of make sure she's not making this up and she's just here to like boost her own ego and, you know, stuff like that. So she explained it. She found herself walking to the Yankee Stadium. She was going to see her son Luke play for the first time. And so I'm thinking like, what can I ask her? And so I asked her, like, you're going to see a game. What kind of, are you having any snacks or anything to drink? And she goes, yes, we're having warm nuts, she says. And I go, is it like burnt peanuts or something? And she goes, no, I think it's chestnuts. And being born in Agora Hills in the LA area, Kathy had never even seen chestnuts. And when I asked her, like, what are you drinking? Are you drinking anything? And she goes, yes, we're having a cola.
A cola.
Yeah, what American-born person would refer to a Coke as a cola.
Right.
And so this can happen in past life regressions, that people even start speaking extinct languages or light languages or a different language from their mother tongue that they've never spoken before. So I would ask about these like trivial details, and you know, it would kind of blow Kathy's mind as well. I remember the next day after the session, she called me. I was driving on the freeway, and she goes, "Oh my God, like that stuff you asked me about, the scoreboard, for instance, you know, at least I know that now the scoreboard is like digital, but I know that they couldn't have been digital then." And she described it as these like blackboard painted, like wooden flaps that were on rings that would be just flipped over to keep the score. She found a picture of it. And then other details like an award that her son Lou Gehrig had won in Japan. She described it in detail. She was able to find that.
Wow.
So it was fascinating how she was able to kind of pull these like verifiable details out of her ass in a regression session. Yeah. And she came back 2 more times, and she would go back into the same lifetime. And this is extraordinary. I haven't had this happen again. And so I asked her higher self, like, why are we doing this? Why do we have to get back to this one lifetime? And it told me that she was to mine this regression experience for verifiable details, that she would have to take those to living descendants and relatives of the Gehrig family and verify them, and then write a book about them. And the book would give access to a larger demographic of people, because it would have this subject of baseball like woven in it, into it, but also this level of sort of verifiability that would be, you know, more, make it more credible for people. So she did. She won the Hay House writing contest, and then it's published. And I've been working with the screenwriters of Halle Berry's production company, because they're trying to turn it into a movie.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. That makes me want to do a session with you.
I mean, it's fascinating. I've done over like 3,000 sessions. I've been doing this for 19 years. Every time I'm doing a session, I'm so excited because it's like I'm sitting down to listen to like a crazy, like spiritual podcast where I'm getting so much information, lots of people sort of corroborating information coming in from other sessions, including like the afterlife space. So, you know, our souls are eternal. If you ask me, we are all consciousness because our soul does not die, and leaving the body seems to be a very easy thing. Like whenever I ask my client about it, oh, I'm just like floating out, and I go, what does it feel like? And they're telling me there's usually this big sigh of relief, and they go like, oh, it feels so freeing. I feel wonderful. They might be back with source consciousness, and it feels like a homecoming. Sometimes they go back to their home planet, or there's just this very nice sort of velvety black space where they are just, there's no like input. They can just be consciousness and sort of recalibrate to what it means to be consciousness before they move into the space where they might meet loved ones or angels or go into like classrooms to learn things, all kinds of fun options. So from my perspective, it's really changed my sense of identity. Like I was more identified with me being Jeroen right now in this lifetime, but I know, just as I know about anybody else, that we're all eternal travelers, and this is like a very temporary sort of assignment that we're here for, but that our journey as a soul is infinite.
It's funny. Beautiful. I mean, I too have had phenomenal evidence in the last 2 years. I mean, undeniable evidence of afterlife. Yes. Oh, absolutely. And it's come from a variety of places. I mean, in my own life with past lives, the universe would just kind of, you know, rush me in 1 week. I would have a reading with someone that goes, you were this in past life and that happened. And then like a day later, a friend's like, I just had a dream where you were this in a past life and that happened. And then I'll go to a conference and I'll be like, I think you were my king in the past life and it happened. So it's just like within like a week, I'm not kidding, variety of people, strangers come up to me, say the same thing. It's so affirming. It's like undeniable. And that's how I came into knowing a few, especially one that I still have issues with. Apparently they needed to gang up on me to convince me of this. But also, for instance, we just had at Unite the Light, we had a panel. We had a panel of 3 mediums. Okay. One medium was channeling Mary Magdalene, the partner of Yeshua, Jesus. One channel was channeling Metatron, an archangel, and one channel was channeling the Pleiadian species.
Oh,
yes,
good.
We'll have to let you see this. And we're having a conversation about Earth. And to me, it's just like, it blew my mind. I mean, it was an idea. I was like, oh, this would be so cool. But then when I was there, it's like, I can't believe it. We have, it is seamless now. It is seamless as far as talking to heaven and connecting to heaven and the other sides. It's absolutely seamless. It's concrete. I have another friend who channels so well, I can call up a dead boss in heaven anytime I want and ask questions. And this boss comes through exactly as she was on Earth. And it's to the point where like heaven and Earth are truly starting to merge as far as that connectedness, you know? It's amazing.
I mean, I truly think it is. I don't know what age you are. I was born in 1971 in like a small town in the Netherlands, and there was nothing that would allude to any of this. I've always, even though I didn't have words for it, I have known that life is consciousness-based versus carbon-based, which is, you know, what our society tries to
science. Science.
That we're just these bodies, and there's science, you know, and you know, science is helpful, but you know, there was not this layer of like the soul or the quantum that I always kind of knew. And so I had been looking for that for a long time, and I felt like I didn't really belong here in this world because there was nothing that really reflected that back to me. And now I found myself in this beautiful, to me, like job where I get to like work in consciousness every day and you know, meet people that have had very similar experience, or like even wilder experiences, you know, where they were able to like levitate or move objects with their mind, or telepathy, or see other people fly, or having very like detailed encounters with all kinds of aliens and even more crazy experiences. And it's just really wonderful that that now seems to be my normal, and it's becoming, you know, more normal for a larger swath of the population, which is
amazing. It is. I mean, I'm in my own bubble. I mean, the people I talk to believe it. They watch my show. We're all in this bubble, and every now and then someone will hear us and be like, you know, like we'll hear someone like, what did you just say? But I agree. I'm amazed too. Just when I started in astrology on the internet, astrology was like a bad word. I didn't even use the word God. People were so damaged. And I had to just kind of tiptoe a little bit, not to upset people. And people, you know, what do you do? I'm an astrologer. Oh, you look through telescopes. Like, not quite, you know. But now if I ask like an 18-year-old, I say I'm an astrologer, like, oh my God, that's so cool. I'm a Taurus with a blah, blah, blah. And my moon's in this and my, it's just, they just know the whole thing. They memorized it. And I'm like, in less than 20 years, I've seen this happen. In less than 20 years, I've seen this evolution. It's pretty amazing. So the awakening is happening. Clearly it's happening. You know, people are aware. And they just weren't the day before. We're talking about with clients. Like, I always have these female clients, and they're married to the husbands who doesn't believe in all this stuff. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. And so like the first, like all these older clients, like, you know, the husband, like, yeah. You know, but now he won't get off the webcam and give her reading. It's like, he's like, oh, so I had this dream about Atlantis, and I'm wondering, you think it's you know, it's just like, it's amazing. So even the skeptics are, you know, on board. It's really interesting. And I'm wondering, you know, where this goes, you know, because I'm sure this is the beginning. This must be the beginning of our awareness and our awakening. You know, it's like, and this is phenomenal at the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Really phenomenal.
So what can you tell us from, you know, I love my job too, for the same reason. I hear every Taurus talk. I hear every Aries talk. I hear every Pisces talk. I hear them say the same things from the same way. Like, I have so much proof in my life of my profession, because I have all these testimonials of people are being real. They're so excited. They can't wait to get in front of me and tell me this stuff. And I just can see the patterns so, you know, so clearly. It's just, and it's something I can't even share with people. You know, it's like, it's an interesting position. You've heard a lot about the in-between life state. You know, what's life like in between lives, or what we call Company of Heaven here on our channel. What can you tell us about it from your observations?
So in my observations, it is experienced differently for different souls. I think it's depending on like how a person's conscious mind needs to like frame it or
their belief structure. Yeah.
I think it's their belief structure. So I think it's less shape and form than we see it in our sessions sometimes, because I've seen it like be very specific. Oh, I look like in this past life. I still have clothes on, but I'm just like translucent or something, or I look young. Okay. Yeah. But then other people, they just become like a star of light or an orb. Yeah. It's more like you know, or a soul. So, but it's good. Like it can be like source, like this big, beautiful, warm, bright light where there's a lot going on, or it can just be the light. It can be this velvety black sort of consciousness space. But it's all very feeling and very loving. And there's different, it seems like there's different levels of, or different dimensional experiences of it. So it can be more where you go into like classrooms and you get taught by ascended masters, or you can just in a different level and just be consciousness. It feels very free, and like there's a lot of choice and agency. It's not like, you know, you're being kicked down to earth, or you're being told to go, or you have a task to fulfill that is like bestowed upon you by some, you know, higher ruler or anything. We're all, I mean, this is my experience, that we're not, even if you believe in like Earth as like a prison planet, that's a term that goes on as well. It's still our soul that decides to enter this space, to be able to learn the things they came here to learn. And learning on Earth takes place through the duality and through the friction and through the challenges. This is the place to do it. So advanced souls come here to be able to expand more, because it's like coveted to come here.
Yes, that's how I understand it. I mean, I've had my favorite description of it is that right now you and I are asleep in heaven, and this is a networked dream. Like this is the dream, you know? And it feels very much like that to me. When I spin my head around that way, I'm like, whoa, suddenly I'm empowered to change the dream. It's a very interesting perspective. I read a book. I can't remember his name. We'll get it on the commercial, but basically he did a hypnosis specifically of the in-between state. And he said, all the patients said exactly what you said, that people are basically different orbs of light. And if the people who see the black envelope, the black velvety reality, they allegedly they're like atheists. They had no perception of what heaven would be, And since heaven is a create on the create on the draw experience, they just created blackness, which is why people thought they were in hell. Is the theory, is because they've been, their mind just created the hell. Mary Magdalene told us in the conference a couple weeks ago that Jesus's real mission, the actual mission from God that he had, was that human beings were ending up in that black space and not finding the light. And that Jesus was here to let you know, his mission, Yeshua's mission, was to teach people, you're a light body. When you die, you go to God, basically coaching them. The Egyptians had all these, rituals. Other cultures had the rituals, but the Jews did not. And so they're wandering around heaven, lost, asking for directions.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So basically, yeah, fascinating. I mean, just, what he likes for breakfast. I was kidding, but it was very interesting. It's compelling to have his wife or his partner, but it was also interesting to hear that as well. Because this is it in our field. I mean, in our field, we see these overlaps, like the black velvety space. So you see these little overlaps, and you start to piece it together.
My sense of it is that there are less rules than we need there to be. Like, as human beings, the way that we process our environment, it's through shape and form. And if it's not black, then it's white. I think it's less form-based and more flux and flow, and less, well, it's got to be this or it's got to be that. I think the options there's lots of options there.
Yeah.
And different levels of experience. I see this as well in sort of the level of the higher self that people access during my sessions. Sometimes it's quite close to the personal space or the personal thinking, and then other times it's really universal, and you can ask them anything. And those are super fun sessions. I can ask people about.
I'm still going to do this. I'm curious about higher self, because I've just been thinking about my higher self a lot lately, or it's been thinking about me, however it works, and I kind of almost feel like I've been praying to my higher self most of the time. I just came to a conclusion. I feel like I've been praying to my higher self. I feel like most of these answers come from my higher self, which is like slipping me the answers in class. It's not, it's that sort of.
Yes.
And I wonder. So I'm very curious. So you say the personality is sometimes similar, sometimes it's not, of the higher self. You get a variety of energies.
It's hard to say because I don't know. Experience. So I can only say what it's like for me, or what it looks like from the outside.
Observing
people. So the higher self is actually, when I asked about it in sessions, it says that there's the oversoul, which is the more or less sort of individuated part of source. And the oversoul decides to split off into these different sort of experiences. Could be on Earth, at different planets, different realms. And then if it goes to Earth, it's too powerful to be housed in a human body. So it creates a sort of a watered down version of itself, and that becomes the personality or the spirit that is sort of in this life, or the life form. And then the higher self is the part that sort of stands behind you, that is your wisdom, your inner knowing, your connection to source, that knows it is part of source. And so what you just said, it seems like you've been praying to your higher self. For me, it's the same way. I get these answers, my own answers, by really kind of falling into myself and trusting what my feelings are, or the first thoughts that are coming up. And it's not that far. It's not that far removed from our conscious experience now. And I think it's changed over the last 20 years. Before, people needed to be more blocked, or more zoned out to be in this session, to have the higher self come through. Now it's rather than a cutting off or a sort of cornering one part of the consciousness and then having another part come up, it's more of an extension of the focus within our own range of consciousness that includes not just the conscious mind, but also the subconscious mind or higher self. And people experience it most of the time as such, that they feel that range widen, and they know that their conscious mind might be commenting on what they're experiencing, but they do have access to this inner knowing, this heart of hearts, this inner wisdom that speaks with authority, and this sense of truth and connection and self-assuredness, authority.
That's my channel. I mean, when I channel readings, everything, that's the voice.
Yes.
It's coming through. It's this, and I don't know. I mean, I'm surprised. I mean, people go, "You're so wise." I'm like, I was learning as you were. because I was just watching the words go out and I was like, whoa, that's brilliant. Whoa, that's compelling. It's way, it was an ability to channel, really, to let that just flow and feel comfortable in that zone, which you learn early on as a reader, right? But it's pretty profound. I mean, pretty much if I ask any question, I get an answer. I just don't know if I can believe it. You know what I mean? Like, I get the answers. It's pretty amazing.
But isn't it amazing that this is now a thing for people, that this is, if people don't experience it themselves, they might have heard about it or know other people that do it. This is now a thing which, when I grew up, nobody talked about anything like it. It was all about this God that's up in the sky, and you have to do all these things to gain its favor and its love. And, if you do it wrong, that you get you get booted into hell and stuff like that. So, yeah. But it's like, it's flipped. Like, now we're starting to understand that we are extensions, or that we're all part of source or consciousness or God or goddess or whatever word you like to use for that.
Yeah. What I've realized in the last few weeks is like, oh my God, did the church do a number over on us?
Definitely.
I mean, you're born a sinner? Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, some of the stuff that we were told is gotta be planned evil, because it is literally the opposite of the reality. Literally the opposite. Yes. As far as love, and love yourself first, not love love yourself. You're the aspect of God, then love your neighbor. It's just all, it's really astounding me. And my eyes have opened wide to, my God, we've been misled, and lied to down here.
There's lots of practices in place that kind of nip us at the core, at the root. Like, for instance, like circumcision for females, to like that kind of trauma, in the root chakra area of a young baby, they're going to be like impaired in their sense of survival and safety on the planet. If it's not done with anesthesia, then they just like slice it. And, and then the whole consciousness that we now have been growing up in, that is so survival based, that instead of welcoming you as a unique expression of source on the planet with your own unique traits and talents and how you are, instead, the message often is, well, you're only good enough if you know how to fit in, if you go through the school system, if you learn your math and your stuff that you might not be interested in, and then you get the job that pays the bills, that has you be feeling safe. You might be able to buy some creature comforts, and that is basically the limited bandwidth that a lot of us have been held in for so long. I think it's deliberate to it. I mean, I've had so many past life regressions where it was made very clear that this darkness that has been on the planet for a long time, there for a reason. It's not like it's not part of source. It just supplied us with the gristle for the mill, or it was like, if there was no challenges or obstacles, then we would just be hanging out here and like watching Netflix and popping Cheetos. I don't know, like there would be no learning or expansion happening. But now the darkness is kind of it's been getting out of control, and now we're up leveling and waking up. That is the what I hear over and over and over through different clients, through their higher selves. This is almost every session I will hear something that is about this.
Yes, I mean, the astrology prophesizes that's exactly what's going to happen. And it's funny I am very aware of many of my past lives, many. And so I can put a string together of the whole multi-lifetime arc, which I find to be really interesting, like for me, like to think about myself. And yes, I think every time I knew it was evil, I think every time I was fighting it somehow, like working against it somehow, working against it or trying to undo it or trying to unfasten it. It's funny. I had a conversation with someone who channels angels recently, and the angels basically said, look, we didn't expect it to get out of hand like this evil thing. Like literally was a surprise to them. They're like, we just thought they'd eventually come around and see God. We didn't know it would be such a mess, and we couldn't do anything about it because we couldn't interfere. It's like, it's like a real problem. Just like we have pests, apparently there's aliens like that. I've talked to the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians talk about certain alien races. They're just pests, it's like, well, they go away, please. So it's funny. It's really funny. Just when you look at the nature of everything, but you're right. I mean, you will live forever. You will never die. You cannot sin. There's no such thing as a sin. You will not be punished ever once for one thing you do. You'll feel like an asshole when you get up there and you talk to all your friends or whatever. Like there's some of that, maybe some personal like, ooh, embarrassment. I've heard that in the counseling with the angels or whoever your sponsor is. You are there kind of like, oh, geez. You're just looking up the records, like, oh, Jesus, like, so there's some of that, but there's nothing there. You can do no wrong, really. And so therefore don't do any wrong because you're just wasting someone's carnival ride. You're just hurting someone's fun at the fair, apparently, heaven's really boring,
I've heard that too. Like there's this longing to go back to earth to be kind of like stupid or to be feeling separate from source. So you have this sort of untainted rediscovering of all these like senses of separation. And that seems to be really fun from the perspective of heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And, and apparently, for one, it's like going to a play, being in a play in your high school, in your school. It's like you're playing a character in a play. And the aliens said they will love watching us because they're fascinated by the choices we make when we don't realize the truth. So when you put the human down that doesn't realize the truth and then they make choices, they are fascinated. We're like the greatest reality show in the universe. They said everyone is watching, because it's so fascinating to see this experiment, apparently, of what Earth is. And, for a new alien race, for a new spiritual powers like love and emotion, apparently are new features that God didn't have before. Yeah. So like we have the latest and greatest features. And from what I hear, it's not easy to come to Earth. There's a line. It's like you're lucky. Anyone who's here is very lucky to be on Earth at this early time in its history, especially the one that's evolving into its greatest self. At the time it's evolving to its greatest self, people are like, I just want out of here. I'm not coming back. I'm like, I'm coming back. Yes. I want to see the work I did. I want to see everything.
I feel the same way. I have lots of friends that, they say this is their last lifetime, or clients that never want to come back because, their life's not good. But, I find such joy and pleasure in the sort of purging of the programming, and then the joy and light and love that it opens up. And also like what you touched on earlier, like once you get to know yourself more as source or love or goddess or whatever it is, that everybody else and anything else is also that. And just like you will have stopped like harming yourself with like judging thoughts that you might have like picked up during your your growing up in this world, you will want to stop harming other people or animals or the planet, and instead of being in a loving relationship to them, which is and to me that that feels really good. Like there's expansion happening once you start trusting your inner self, as opposed to people out there or society or external determinants of value or worthiness.
Yeah, I talk about this Gemini breakthrough, and for me the breakthrough has been, oh my God, I have nothing to worry about. I have nothing to worry about. Really, if I'm the one making this dream, I just got to figure out how to do it. Like it's not. What's that?
Are you a Gemini too?
No, but no, Jupiter's been in Gemini for the whole world for a year.
Oh, okay.
So Jupiter moves in, and by the way, you're a Jupiter Gemini. So you're a step 21 Gemini. That's a Jupiter ruled Gemini.
A step 21 Gemini?
Step 21 Gemini, yeah.
What that mean?
Means? It means that means that the sun was at the 21st degree of its orbit in Gemini.
Oh,
21 is a Sagittarius number. Sagittarius is the opposite sign of Gemini. So when you have a mastery of the opposite sign, you've mastered the whole spectrum as a soul. You've mastered the whole spectrum. So you've mastered everything from intellect to belief structure.
Oh, yeah. I call it batshit Gemini.
Yeah, that's what we call it too. That's really good. Yeah. That's it. And the humor is perfect. That means you have reached it. Once you laugh about it, you are a master, that's for sure. Right. That's funny. So you want to share any of your lives, that you've lived or anything? I mean, it's kind of interesting. I'm curious, like what you've discovered and what surprised you.
Sure. Like I've had my own QHHT sessions done, maybe like 13 or 14. And then I've been in other processes or dreams where other lifetimes came in. And so I've recovered very mundane past lives, Earth lifetimes where, just very simple lifetimes. I realized that when I was doing energy work like Reiki or like hands-on healing, I could see herbs or like healing powders or compounds that would help people. And so I found out that There was lifetimes as a healer, as a medicine, like an herbalist. And then there have been some alien lifetimes. I've discovered part of my like Pleiadian lineage, Syrian lineage. I've been like an alien sort of landing on Earth to in a long time past in the Amazon forest where I sat with people, and my way of sort of relaying like information about how to grow things, or about plants and trees and how to live life in a more sort of efficient like way. I did this by sounding. I was like sounding through my body, and the sound contained the knowledge encoded. And then I, being on a different planet where there were humanoids as well, where I was a manufactured being. I was this like spongy, white-looking sort of Michelin kind of or mummy-looking creature that was manufactured, and like life force had been sort of like pumped into it. And I was housed in this like tall silo on these little sort of bunk beds with other creatures like myself. And we were like taking care of like the utilities for these humanoids that live in these large domes. And I was not supposed to have like a soul spark, but I did. Something was just like had gone wrong. And so I had feelings, and I was not acknowledged as having feelings by the people that I worked for, nor the other creatures that I was around. And it was kind of like matching what I was going through emotionally at that time in my current lifetime.
So Earth life was poisoning the non-emotional lives, kind of like the emotions from Earth were coming into your feelings there. Is that what you're saying? Like you had emotion when you were supposed to, or
on a different, I mean, this was a lifetime on a different planet where I was like working with humanoids. But in this current lifetime, I'm very emotional, very feeling, and I'm from a very cerebral and rational culture. So my journey in this life was to explore my emotions and to become a master of them. And at that time, I wasn't doing so well with it, and so I was feeling alone and unseen and unvalued, and kind of weird for having all these feelings. And so knowing that I experienced this before, it kind of released some of that trauma that I had brought into this lifetime, probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I won't share as much, but I do have a memory of coming out on Earth and seeing it for the first time as an alien. I have a memory of that. So I have these flash memories of past lives. It's like a flash bulb goes off in my head. It's almost like you flash a light on in the dark. You know, like when you're kids, you flash a light on. It's like you see like an image for a minute, and then it just sort of like fades away. That's kind of how I'll see a moment in my past life. So
love it.
Not quite as many as you, but definitely was here from the very beginning. I was an alien that came, and I saw Atlantis, and I was like, I'm coming here.
Yes,
I want to be here. I was excited. I remember that. So it's interesting how this is all happening. Do you feel? I mean, we've been talking to our staff. We feel like it won't be very long before kids just have memory of it.
I think so too.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, what I see happening in the younger generations, and my sessions, these generations are called the crystal children, is that they don't have to be. They don't have to take on the old paradigm as much as we had to do this.
Right. It was our time. Yeah.
Harmonics of human consciousness have been getting lighter, thanks to people like yourself and the older people that have been doing the work of lightening the harmonics. And also they can come in with like more soul memory or soul presence, and they don't have to be so stuck in the paradigm like we had. And so you'll find more people that don't play the gender game. They're like, fuck you with your stupid male, male and female or masculine, feminine. I'm just going to be myself. Or they just don't go to school because they already have their sense of what they want to do on the planet, and they will gather the resources or the learning in other ways to be able to do what they're here to do. I mean, the educational system is archaic. It's really based in the old paradigm.
It's evil. We have to take one step later. I mean, it just seems to be also like the church. I mean, just some of the stuff that we're learning is just so contrary to our truth.
Exactly. It takes us out of ourselves to find worth and validation in stuff outside of us, rather than for us to learn more about who we are, what makes us tick, what is our passion, how to be in relationships, how to access the subtle levels of our field or dimensions, or how to be in contact with our guides, our angels, how to manifest. All these things are not taught in school. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then, that must be your imagination, Susie.
Right.
Being told that, you don't remember a past life. That must be a movie you saw. It's just like talking people into their dumb,
Yes.
and I think that's so we can be controlled. I
Yeah.
frankly do. And, I don't know. Our teachers don't know that. I mean, our teachers just following protocol. They went to college. It's a huge, huge, huge thing that was developed over time,
But like you said, like the kids now that are coming in, they don't buy that shit anymore.
No. Even my son was like, sure, Dad. He was like, well, that's my, and I had telepathy with my son when he was young. We had to teach him, we had to force him to talk because we were just getting it. We were not having to, actually use the spoken word. So it's really fascinating. I'm excited, so what are you excited about in the future now that you see all this happening? I mean, have you added it all up?
Well,
I'm curious.
To my own limited capacity.
Sure.
I mean, I'm excited to be here now, having seen the changes that have been happening already in the span of my lifetime up until now, and possibilities that are becoming available, and how, despite the sort of the stronghold or the intensified sort of measures in place of trying to like dumb us down, I see people like pop left and right. I don't think it can be held back. People are reconnecting and upgrading their DNA and becoming more aware of that they are source expressed in this human body, and with the authority and the self-sovereignness, is that a word, that comes with it, and being able to make their own decisions rather than to fall in line with all these rules and structures that have been around for so long, that had, I think, to me, the goal of suppressing our
too.
Knowing. Yeah.
I mean, Constantine's on record for it, taking the parts of the Bible he wants and re-legioning Rome, making a re-legion,
Yes.
Because they were all, they're all having sex and enjoying themselves in those bathhouses. We got to do something about this, they freaked out. And it's funny too, because you can see why Jesus was killed. The information he was bringing was like very dangerous to them, very dangerous to what they've been doing. And if he made a lot of sense, to the people. So I can see that now. You can see why the good and the loving have been massacred and hurt over the centuries too. It's a fascinating time we live in, I'll tell you. And the astrology shows and the aliens too. The Pleiadians say that the next 18 months are particularly difficult because there's two. Are you picking up on that? So what can you tell us of what you pick up on?
So I'm hearing this in my sessions that what's the expression, like we're gonna go down to the wire before it gets better. That there's also this influx of, I keep hearing this, and there's somebody in the comments who actually said this in her session, that there's this big light that's going to come to the planet. It's already happening. The output of the sun, the energy codes that are coming in are more amped up and a higher frequency, but there's going to be this sort of explosion that is going to happen suddenly. It's not something that's seen physically, but that is going to sort of eradicate a lot of the dark thinking on the planet. And so this can be difficult for people that haven't done sort of inner work, and a lot of the stuff might surface all at once. They're already on this track. It's just going to feel like more magical, more magic.
It's gonna be joygasmic.
Yes,
we're gonna have a joygasm. I feel that. And I feel like I remember Atlantis feeling that way. I mean, I remember, and I'll tell you what I put together just a couple of days ago. When I saw this, I went to Disneyland as a kid. I was brought back to my feelings of Atlantis. Is what it was.
Really?
I was just like, wow! Like my soul just freaked out. My dad's like, calm down, you're getting an asthma attack, But like looking back, it was just so much joy in my heart, and that's what I remember. I remember the little glimpses of Atlantis I have. It was utopia. It was absolute utopia. We were walking on clouds, and part of it was that we were manipulating crystals to get high off of.
Yes,
we're getting high off crystals back then. You know what I mean? Like, you need drugs. Yeah, you didn't need drugs. You see a few quartz crystals and a big light. Like basically something. But it's pretty interesting to see how it's going. I wonder just how fast it's going to drop. I mean, for me, I have to say, I don't know about you, but you know, I have clients that are stuck in that, you know, who've just started the work. You know, there's a lot of babying of yourself you have to do, just nurture, because you're really coming out of a bad dream is what it is, you know, and there's no way of making that process any faster. And there's no way of convincing someone who's like looking at you crazy with crazy in their eyes. There's no way of convincing them that in that moment of what, you know, you have to just be loving to them and patient with them. But for me, you know, for once, my whole life, I was like spending so much time to convince these people. Now I'm like, oh, you'll figure it out. You know, I'd be like, I myself am just so convinced of the future. I'm having a hard time worrying about anything.
I get told like the quickest way to do this for yourself is to love yourself. And this is also the best way of being of service to others. So you can show them the outside of the box rather than to describe what the box looks like and how terrible it is. You can give them, or being like a lighthouse of an example of what it's like to be outside of that box.
Yes.
Rather than the preaching or like the how-tos. But yeah, to love yourself is the quickest way to do this.
That's right. And that's why I think entertainment is going to be the next step for light workers. I think that we have to show, not tell at this point. You know, I think a lot of people just need to see what it looks like. Wow. Fascinating stuff. Well, I'm coming over to see you. I'm living in Palm Springs now. So when you are done with what's that?
That's not that far. And I travel to Palm Springs all the time. So
I'm in LA all the time. So yeah, we'll have to connect, and I would love to do a trade maybe, you know, like however you want to handle it. But, you know, maybe we'll run into each other in a past life. It could be really bizarrely cool.
We probably will.
Probably will. I know this kind of stuff happens. I mean, there are no accidents. And I find that most people around you in your life were past life. Almost every one of them. Almost every one of them. Yeah. We really don't get many new friends. We really don't. So how can people watching, you know, work with you, sir? Do they have to be on the West Coast?
So yeah, QHHT is done in person, but I do group sessions online. It's a slightly different process. It's just an experience of past lives, but like a full QHHT session is only done in person. So you would have to be on the West Coast, or you can find a local practitioner by going to QHHTofficial.com. I love to work with people in person, but on June 21st, I'm doing a virtual group session. If you want to be part of that, I can drop, I don't know if you can post it for me because I don't have access to the comment.
We so shall. Consider it, you know, released.
Okay, great. So I just dropped it in our private chat. If they can be released, people can join in. And if you're on the West Coast, you can find me. My website is Jeroen QHHT, which is spelled JEROEN QHHT.com. Or the easiest way to find me is on Instagram, because it has my link tree to all my links and YouTubes and all this stuff. And it's my first name, JEROEN, and then is love, my affirmation. Jeroen is love.
Oh, I love it. How can you not love it? It's love. Yeah, it's wonderful. No, I love it too. I love using the word love too. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope I'll see you in the astral plane, I'm sure. We just made a major connection there with probably just thread together many past lives. I look forward to working with you in person. And we'd love to have you back, you know, with your observations. I think it'd be nice to have you back a few times in the future where you and I can just talk about what we've observed.
Yes. I mean, there's so much to talk about. There
really is.
Surface. Yeah.
Endless. Yeah. It's great to have you. So have a lovely weekend, sir. Thank you, Jeroen.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
Whew, that was good. That was good stuff. I'll tell you guys, nowhere on television will you see a conversation like this. Nowhere in podcasts will you see a conversation like this. I'm very proud of our work. I'm very proud of what we're doing here at Serious Joy. I just want to put that out there and just let my heart shine for a second in 5D. I'm very happy. It's so nice to meet people who are like this. I remember growing up, my father and my mom were like this. And so they would talk about past lives, and they, you know, I would be like, "You're a bad dad." My dad would be like, "Well, you chose me." You know, like, so he would use this logic against me in fights and stuff. But I was trapped in a weird house. I didn't have anyone in the world that believed in this stuff except for me. And so probably the greatest gift of this job is just meeting so many cool people who are on the same page, because I don't feel lonely anymore. So it's wonderful. Y'all have a wonderful week. We'll be back next week. We have both Namaste today and also AstroMingle next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. Live in your heart. Remember, it's just a dream, and try to enjoy it. I love you. Live, love, be.
Did you know that discordant energies such as illness, trauma, violence, and depression can linger on a property for hundreds of years, going all the way back to the very beginning of that parcel of land? This can also happen with family heirlooms, antiques, or previously owned furniture. If you've been feeling blocked in life, more ill than usual, or just uncomfortable in your home, your space could be holding on to residual energies. Refresh My Property can help clear these energies remotely. Scan the QR code to get your free phone consultation today and begin clearing your space and your life.